Cinemajaw is sponsored by Overcast, an independent podcast app that embraces the open world of podcasting instead of locking it down. No exclusives, no premium content, no paywalls. Just a great podcast app for everyone. Get it for free in the App Store. And we thank them for their support. You're listening to Cinemajaw, the greatest movies podcast ever, recorded on location from our respective homes in Chicago. My name is Matt Kay, and with me is
Rye, the movie guy, and sitting inside the fish tank is Phil, me, and Phil.
How we doing tonight, guys?
This week on Cinemajaw, Matt, we give the JawHeads many reviews in what we call a Review-O-Rama.
You got to say it with enthusiasm. Review-O-Rama! You know, like Sunday, Sunday.
I was going to say, then maybe Phil can echo this.
Perfect.
That was awesome. Sounded awesome.
Great job.
Sometimes you just got to get the JawHeads reviews, and that's what we're doing this week on Cinemajaw.
Yeah, I mean, here we are. Summer season's kicking off. There's a bunch of new movies coming out, and we want to review them.
Yep, that's what we're doing. We're talking movies this week on Cinemajaw, and we're doing a few other things, aren't we, Phil?
Yes, we are continuing. It is the last week of Angelina Jolie month, so we have our facts, we have our clips, and then we also normally try to do these as separate, but we're squeezing in an entire retro review into this episode. And if that wasn't jam-packed enough, we even have Hollywood headlines.
Yes, we are retro reviewing Wanted with Angelina Jolie.
And we have 3 new reviews for you, Jawheads. Cruella, Quiet Place 2, and Army of the Dead.
Wow. One of those may have a chance to be Matt Kay's movie of the year.
Hey, maybe 2 of them. Maybe all 3, Rye. You don't know.
These are some good movies to talk about. We got Wanted, a retro review, and we got 3 heavy hitters that are out and fun to discuss.
I know. And next week we're off, Jawheads. I mean, in all honesty, we probably would have just done Wanted if it were not for all these other movies, you know?
Right.
Perfect time to just do a retro review and take a week off.
Yes, we are due for a summer vacation, a week without recording Cinemajaw, Matt.
Yes, like a fine bottle of wine. We have to just let it breathe, you know?
I'm looking so forward to finally having a week of free Matt Kay. You know what I mean? I just don't have to put up with Matt Kay and his antics.
You want to come over? Is that what you're saying? You want to come hang out?
Hey, I was over at the Kabinski household this past weekend. We shot a video up on our YouTube channel, video review of Cruella, and another one dealing with top 5 Disney live action.
Yep. So check those out on our YouTube. Way to plug it, Rye. Good job.
Yes, I know. And while I was there, Matt wasn't kind enough to invite me to stay over for dinner. That would never come out of his mouth. But his wife was. So thank you, Heather. But I did have to pass. But I thought, wow, how kind.
She is my better. Yep. She is my better half, Rye. That's for sure.
Always good times. And speaking of good times, Phil, you got a good time fact for us on Angelina Jolie.
I got some kind of fact for you on Angelina. So we all know that she is, well, hopefully most of us at this point in the month know she's Jon Voight's daughter. However, not all of us know that she is named after costume designer Angela Alexander, who designed the costumes for the film All-American Boy in 1973, a film that Jon Voight was in. John and Angela, I want to stress that, became good friends on the set, and he was fascinated when she told him that her original Greek name was Angeliki, which in Greek means angelic messenger of God. And then just one Ina away, he added that to his daughter's name.
How nice.
That's a beautiful story. Now we know the origin of Angelina's name. It's great.
It is. Angelina Jolie. What a name. Good fact, Phil. I forgot to mention, we always end Cinemajaw with some movie trivia. This time, we're pitting Matt Kay against Phil in Blunt movie trivia in honor of Emily Blunt, starring in A Quiet Place. We're playing Blunt movie trivia. This could go sideways, people. This could go sideways.
Yeah, what kind of blunts are we talking about here?
I've been preparing my whole life, Ryan.
At least 20 minutes before the podcast.
Good times. Always good times here on Cinemajaw. All right. 4 reviews, Matt. We ready to get to it?
Yes, sir.
Back in 1996, Glenn Close starred in 101 Dalmatians as Cruella de Vil. This was one of Disney's first live-action reimaginations of a classic cartoon. Fast forward 25 years, and the live-action remake and origin stories are all the rage. This time around, Emma Stone plays Cruella. For the record, it's not a remake. This one fits under Disney Villain Origin Story. It comes equipped with 2 Oscar winners, some early punk fashion, a killer soundtrack, and 3 killer Dalmatians. Matt and I put on our Sunday best and took our DeVille to the theater to check it out.
From the very beginning, I realized I saw the world differently than everyone else. That didn't sit well with some people. But I wasn't for everyone. I guess they were always scared that I'd be a psycho. Sorry now. But a new day brings new opportunities. Sorry now. And I was ready to make a statement. How does the saying go? I am woman, hear me roar.
Cruella opens up with us meeting Cruella as a young girl, known then as Estella. Even at age 10, her hair color is already split between black and white. This is not the only thing split. So is her personality. One night, her mom takes her to a swanky party outside of London and tragedy strikes. Cruella is left to grow up on her own. Luckily, she finds 2 boys her age, and a family unit plus a crime circle is forged. Cruella's passion is fashion. Now an adult, she gets a job working for the Baroness, played by Emma Thompson, designing clothes. Their close relationship turns into a rivalry, and soon Cruella is the talk of London as she upstages the Baroness event after event. Why is Cruella doing this? Why does she have it out for the Baroness? It all comes together in the final act. Along the way, we're treated to some amazing aesthetics, from fashion to architecture. We also get one of the most stacked movie soundtracks of all time. Hit after hit belts out as we see Cruella climb the ladder of fame. This time around, the filmmakers switch things around and make Cruella a sympathetic character. We understand the choices she has made. I enjoyed cheering for her and her henchmen, one of them played by Paul Walter Hauser of Richard Jewell fame. The film has high energy and a punk-style attitude, so my guess is, Matt K., you had to be a fan as well.
I loved Cruella. It was a great, and we said this in our YouTube video, like the Joker for kids. It really is a fun, villainous romp that does carry some weight, and it does it all with this amazing style. Just very punk. Yes, I loved it, dude.
I had commented how much I liked the soundtrack, and you even picked up on some songs and where they fit in.
Yeah, well, and it was you that pointed out this is such a stacked soundtrack, top to bottom, but like Iggy and the Stooges is in there. Now I Want to Be Your Dog, which obviously fits well into the whole Dalmatians universe.
Both the Emmas, fantastic. They have a couple of scenes together in which they're having conversation, and it's almost like who can upstage who. Both are having a blast playing these characters, and I think that fun that both Emma Stone and Emma Thompson are having just jumps off the screen, and I think that's why I know I enjoyed the heck out of it, and I think that's why audiences like it so much as well. We can feel the fun that they're having.
Yeah, it's a kinetic movie too. What's good about it is it moves right along. There's a sag in the middle, and then it picks up again at the end. If I had to point to any sort of critique, it would be that one sag in the middle. But it's minor, because it picks it up again so nicely, and going into the third act is so strong. It's easy to forgive.
Yeah, my complaint would be that it's a little too long for a Cruella DeVille origin story. I mean, it clocks in over 2 hours, so I think they could have trimmed that down. And then I think that the ending was not its strongest point. It was seeing Cruella do these antics where she's constantly upstaging Emma Thompson's character was great to see. And the highlight being this stunt that she pulls off with moths inside a fashion show that gets everybody running out of one fashion show, screaming, scared. And as they run out, they basically go right into a punk show that's going on at a fountain where Cruella is there. And that was like the peak of entertainment for Cruella. And that comes, 3/4 of the way. I thought that was the best stunt in the movie.
I agree. The ending does kind of miss the mark. I mean, don't get me wrong. I found it satisfying enough, and it's a Disney movie, so it's kind of what you expect, maybe. But getting there is the pleasure of this movie. One thing we did not talk about in our YouTube video is the procedural aspect of this, because we meet her as like, a child, then she becomes sort of a clerk at a small time, or not even a small time, it's like a department store, right? And how she gets into the good graces of the Baroness and climbs up the ladder is, kind of what makes Cruella cool, that she's resourceful. She has these friends help her along the way. She's not against, doing something scrupulous and wrong in order to get ahead. But at the same time, she curries all this sympathy in the audience, and we wound up like loving her and rooting for her, as you mentioned.
I agree. And I mean, the cast, you just mentioned a character I totally forgot about. And then as you talked about him, I'm like, yes, the character who plays, the actor who plays her boss at the department store. Yeah. That guy was hilarious.
Uh-huh. That's the best, like, posh English accent since Mr. Howell from Gilligan's Island. He's got that he talks through his jaw kind of thing, You want to punch him in the face.
Another character that pops up is this almost like a David Bowie kind of ripoff. He works at like a secondhand fashion store where Cruella goes, meets him, and he helps assist her with the fashion that she's trying to pull off. Did you like this character? Because I liked him as well.
So
I liked him.
Not that I didn't like the character, it was fine, but I thought that he was sort of one of the weak points being that he wasn't used enough. It was almost like it didn't make sense. Like, why is he there? I guess to help with the fashion, but he doesn't really move the plot along. He doesn't do anything important. They could have easily, you said 20 minutes need to be trimmed from this movie. There it is. There's your 20 minutes back.
One major point that we didn't talk about is the fact that the Dalmatians really don't come up all that much in this movie. So obviously it's based off of 101 Dalmatians. And if you've seen either the animated film or you watch the Glenn Close film, it's about getting these dogs, and the dogs are a key moment in the movie. It's the main plot point. Not the case with Cruella. Yes, the Dalmatians are there and there's something for them to do, but really they're on the back burner in this one.
Yeah. And I don't want to give anything away. Something happens toward the end of the movie where Cruella even kind of likes Dalmatians, even if it goes against her image, which I didn't care for at all. She should have been not a fan of Dalmatians at any point, because that's got to carry through.
I agree. I mean, I as much as I liked cheering for Cruella throughout this one, I did want it to end where you could see why we would hate her in the long run. Where I think they still left it open for a possible sequel where we would still be behind Cruella for another one of these,
Oh, really? You think so? You think there might be a sequel?
If it's a hit at the box office, I could see it being a hit and a sequel.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they kind of end things where other pictures pick up. So, I mean, maybe we'll see that remake of 101 Dalmatians. The Glenn Close role.
There was a nice homage to the animated film when Emma Stone gets behind the wheel of the DeVille and she looks crazed, because I think that's an image that we see, sort of burn into our minds from the original animated film. And they went for it. And she does look pretty wild driving that car and in that chase scene. I loved it. How about you?
Yeah, where they're like, I thought you didn't know how to drive. And she's like, I don't. And she got her shoulders way up high and she's hugging the wheel. Yeah, dude, it was like a frame right out of that animation where she's driving the DeVille all crazy with her eyes like bugging out.
Loved it.
Fantastic.
You got a jaw-dropping moment for me, Matt?
My jaw-dropping moment was the fountain. Was the punk show at the fountain. I wasn't necessarily expecting that. There's a lot of fashion in this movie and some of it's punk, right? But I thought they were going to leave that kind of tongue in cheek. And no, they stuck that tongue firmly out.
For me, I just wrote down dog whistle. And it's kind of a shocking moment when the dog whistle is revealed and what the dog whistle represented and what it now means to Cruella. I like that moment. It was sort of figuratively a jaw-dropping moment. I was like, oh my goodness, kind of moment in the film. I liked it.
I agree. It was cool. The third act, like I said, is very strong. I think even grown-ups will really appreciate this a lot.
Movie poster quote, Matt?
My movie poster quote is, "This is the Joker for kids."
I went with the Banksy of fashion movies.
Nice. How many jaws you giving this one, Ryan?
I'm going a strong, very strong 3.5 jaws for Cruella.
I went 3 jaws. I like this a lot. As I said at the top, there is a sag, and I agree, Rye. They could have trimmed it a little bit.
Now, because we're solo, we decided to also throw in movie pairings for suggestions. You get done watching Cruella, Matt. Mm-hmm. What's your movie pairing? What do you want to watch next?
Boy, if I didn't telegraph this one, Joker, go straight into another villain origin story. Or if you need a refresher, go ahead and spin 101 Dalmatians, the animated classic.
I was going to say, I watched the Glenn Close movie for the first time, actually, 2 weeks ago in preparation for this. And wow, I don't know what the big fuss was. Really doesn't hold up that well at all. It's Home Alone with Dalmatians.
Yeah.
All right. My pairing for this one was totally fashion oriented, and I went with the Phantom Thread.
Ooh, I like that, Rye. Thinking outside the box.
Yeah, you get done with Cruella and you're hooked on all the cool fashions, and so you go for a Daniel Day-Lewis, Paul Thomas Anderson film, which is sort of a dark comedy, twisted, but also great fashions throughout the movie.
Yeah. Hey, whatever happened with Phantom Thread? That movie came and went. I mean, it had a little buzz, but
oh, I think it's holding up really well. I think more people are still discovering it. And
is it getting a cult following?
Oh yeah. I mean, I have not seen it since that screening that we went to, but
same. Get to rewatch it.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Daniel Day-Lewis. Can we throw this in the fish tank, Phil? Because that was announced as his retirement film was Phantom Thread. He said he was going to be a dressmaker after that. I think he just gets so into his roles, but see what you can find, Phil.
I'm pretty sure he hasn't done anything since then.
That's for sure.
I don't know why he came all the way up here. There's nothing left.
There are people out there. People worth saving.
Most people had finally given up hope.
All right, Ryan, here we go with A Quiet Place 2. Back in 2018, Emily Blunt starred in a film, directed, and co-starring her husband, John Krasinski. A Quiet Place snuck into theaters with low expectations. Audiences went crazy for it. It holds a 96% fresh score on Rotten Tomatoes. It went on to gross $340 million worldwide. With that kind of success, there had to be a sequel. A Quiet Place 2 was set to come out last March, but due to the pandemic was pulled and put on hold like so many other films. I still have to catch up with the first one, so I've not seen number 2 yet either. Ryan, you have seen it. Was it worth the wait?
Yes, Matthew. Yes, it was. Sequels in general have it tough, right? Especially in situations like this. A Quiet Place was written and made as a single film. Because it was so well made and well received, the idea for a sequel was hatched. The good news is A Quiet Place 2 is just as thrilling as its predecessor. John Krasinski expands the story and the world just the right amount. We open with a prequel of sorts as we get to see day one of the invasion. We have seen invasions take place in small town America before, but this is one of the most effective takes on it. A small community enjoying a baseball game as something strange comes streaking across the sky. Soon, chaos, along with some scary, very scary, I should say, aliens. The film jumps back to present time, picking up right after the first film. And I mean right after the first film. Love that touch. Emily Blunt, her newborn, and 2 children leave their farmhouse looking for help. They find it in Emmett, played by Cillian Murphy. Regan, the hearing-impaired daughter, has a plan to stop all the alien creatures in the area. But if she told it to her mom, she would be told no. So a plan is hatched, and a family is divided once again. Hats off to John Krasinski. He has now created 2 films that work extremely well. They are not that complex. He keeps things tight and has a knack for showing you clues that inform the viewer with everything they need to know. This is key to build the suspense. Those that saw the first film know what I'm talking about when I say exposed nail on the steps. This time around, towel near the lever should do it. He also makes silence scary as hell. 3 or 4 times in the movie, we get the silent perspective of his deaf daughter. As scary as the sounds of chaos are, seeing chaos unfold with literally no sound is even scarier. And finally, John takes a page out of George Lucas's playbook and gives us 3 thrilling and tense scenarios all unfolding at the same time in the finale. The cut and edits between the characters and the peril they find themselves in had my palms sweating and my heart racing. A Quiet Place 2 is that rare sequel that equals the first in every way. I am a big fan.
Wow.
Did you hear that? A big fan.
Wow, man, I'm impressed. So I guess the question is, after seeing A Quiet Place 2, do you think they're going to make A Quiet Place 3? Is this a franchise now?
Well, I can answer that question by just looking at the internet. People are already saying that John Krasinski is quietly working on his ideas for a third. Now, they leave it more or less in the same position as they leave 1, where I think if this was the end of it, everybody would be satisfied. However, again, he opened up the world a little bit more. We now do see that these aliens didn't just crash in this small town in America, that there were other ones around the world. So it does keep that door of possibility open that there could be a third. And if he can keep making them this good and this tense, I'd be okay with it.
Yeah. I mean, so the moments of silence, are there jump scares that follow that? You know, do they keep it really quiet and then all of a sudden, boom?
So let me tell you this. I need to mention this press screening was in that Dolby Atmos theater, which we've talked about here on the show a couple of times.
They can be overwhelming sometimes.
I agree. I mean, just the ad that comes on with the Coke pouring into the glass had me, jumping. I'm not joking, Matt. I went airborne 5 times in this movie. Airborne. I mean, out of my seat. My God, the jump scares in this movie were unreal. This was the best movie I've seen in the Dolby Atmos that really took advantage of it. It was incredible. But to your question, the silence, it doesn't always get followed by a jump scare, but he does it one time during like the invasion scene where all hell is breaking loose, and it's terrifying because these things move so fast, and so they're moving around the screen, and people are just getting annihilated, and people are running all over, and then all of a sudden it'll just be a hard cut to the daughter's perspective of seeing all that chaos, but all of a sudden it's just complete silence in the movie theater, and I'm telling you, it was terrifying. And then he uses it again in a situation where we realize she can't hear. So if something's happening right behind her that's making a noise that would signal the aliens, she wouldn't know about it unless she actually saw, something fall or make that noise to be prepared. And he just uses it so effectively. And we, the audience, are sitting in our seats, not wanting to make a sound. It's awesome.
Has he just found a successful gimmick, or is the content really there?
I think his storytelling, the way he is able to, show you these clues, the ideas that situations are going to pop up between these characters, and it's good because it builds that suspense. We see a couple of things here, and I don't want to give it away because it's a really fun, intense scene, but you see something that everybody's going to know. Oh boy, I hope these characters don't go here and do this, even though we all know that they're going to do this, and so when it happens, it can happen very fast on screen, but we're all aware of what exactly took place and the danger now that these characters find themselves in, and can they be saved after doing this? And it's just thrilling to see it unfold. So I think he's a really good storyteller and keeps it simple. I constantly on this podcast seem to be talking about cut the movie by 20 minutes. I just said it for Cruella, and I seem to say it every week. Not the case with the Quiet Place movies. Both films are like 90 minutes. I mean, it is just a perfect length thriller. And again, he doesn't, another great thing he does is he shows us more of the aliens. And I got to say, for my money, these are some of the coolest looking aliens to come around in years. And they looked great in the first one, but we barely saw them. He doesn't make the mistake here of showing us too much of the aliens. We see a lot more of them, but he still shows restraint, and that really benefits the movie. He still holds back on showing too much of the aliens, I thought.
So this isn't a full-on switch from Alien to Aliens, right?
No, it is. This is right in the same wavelength as the first one, all the way around. The thrills, the scares, the tensity, great.
Would you be down for that? Like an Aliens treatment in the Quiet Place universe where people get the machine guns out? And
no. And I do think I'm never one to keep going on and on with these. If they do one more, I think I'd be happy, but let's not press our luck and turn this into a Friday the 13th series. You know what I mean? Let's keep it at about 3 at max. So.
If the third one sells, there will be a fourth. How many?
Oh, I'm sure it's never ending when there's money involved.
Yes.
Jaw-dropping moment here is the invasion sequence that I mentioned at the top. From seeing something strange in the sky to the point of seeing the aliens and the havoc that's going on in the town. Wow. I mean, we're talking 15, 20 minutes of just heart-pounding, action and storytelling.
Better than the invasion sequence from War of the Worlds, which was not a great movie, but that sequence was pretty damn good.
Yes. To be honest, I wasn't thinking of that, but it's a very good comparison for this one. Yeah.
Okay. All right. How about a movie poster quote, Rye?
I went with, shh, this might be better than the first.
Nice. Dude, I'm pretty sure you did something very similar.
I think I did as well.
You were like, shh, Krasinski's got a hit on his hands. Something like that, dude. All right.
That's too funny.
We'll let it fly, though. How many Jaws you giving this?
4 Jaws, Matt K.
Oh.
4 Jaws for A Quiet Place 2.
Damn.
Bam.
Dude,
there
and I
you go.
still haven't seen the first one. I got to get off my ass and check out this series.
Again, since we're doing pairings, I did throw one in there. And I was reminded of the movie The Crazies.
Oh, dude, I love The Crazies.
But you're talking about the original The Crazies, right? I never saw the original.
Yeah, Romero.
Yeah, I'm talking about the remake. I've only seen the remake, and it was also sort of, I think it takes place in Iowa. I don't know if the original does. I'm probably. And it's zombies instead of aliens. But again, that sort of...
No, they're not zombies. They're just like people that went nuts.
Okay. Pretty close to zombies. You know what I'm talking about.
Zombie-like.
All right. Well, at least they're not aliens. But at the point I was trying to make here was that the invasion sequence, or the moment where the crazies come out for the first time, is also at like a baseball game, and one of them comes out into the outfield, and all hell starts to break loose. That reminded me very much of the sequence here in A Quiet Place too. So the Crazies, if you haven't seen it, Matt, you're recommending the first one?
Yeah. If you like Romero.
Yeah. Can you throw this in the fish tank? Who directed the remake? I have no clue, but and what year that came out? It was probably like 15 years ago, but I like The Crazies, the remake. All right, JawHeads. So if you agree, disagree, just want to comment on either Cruella or A Quiet Place 2, shoot us a tweet at Cinemajaw or an email, feedback@cinemajaw.com. Matt, it's our last week of celebrating Angelina Jolie. So we decided in this Review-O-Rama to squeeze in a retro review of Wanted.
Yeah, because why not, Ryan? In 2008, director Timur Bekmambetov, the Russian director who would go on to give us the film adaptation of Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, directed the unexpected hit Wanted. Successful both at the box office and with critics in general, the film starred Morgan Freeman, Angelina Jolie, and at the time, an unknown James McAvoy. We revisited this action classic from the aughts to find out, is it as good as we remember, or is that just what we wanted it to be?
I thought he'd be taller. Shoot the wings off the flies.
You're insane.
Insanity is coasting through life in a miserable existence when you have a caged lion locked inside.
I really think you have me mixed up with somebody else.
Shoot the wings off the flies.
Either you shoot or I do.
Only a few people in the world can do that.
You can't even see them!
Your father could do it. And you can do it.
Basically, a cubicle slave named Wesley Gibson is living a miserable life of pills, a girlfriend who cheats on him with his best friend, and general dissatisfaction with his station in life. That's when Wesley, played by a young James McAvoy, is approached by Fox, Angelina Jolie, who literally and figuratively rescues him from his mundane world. She tells him that he is the heir to a super assassin and a prospect member of an ancient order of assassins known as the Fraternity. Odd name coming from a woman, but we let it slide. Soon, Wesley is mega rich, discovers powers and capabilities that he never knew he had. He's tasked by the leader of the fraternity, Morgan Freeman, with finding the man who killed his father and enacting his revenge. Wackiness ensues. After 13 years, this film holds up remarkably well. File this under "they don't make them like this anymore." The action and the plot is fast-paced and highly stylized. The settings and the costumes are fantastic, and the acting is a cut above, as you might expect from a cast like this. My only real complaint with Wanted is how similar it is to other male power Alice in Wonderland fantasies like The Matrix in its plot structure. But it's so much fun in its execution that's a very easy thing to excuse. Also, I think this could have been expanded. I guess hindsight is 2020, but this easily could have been 2 or 3 movies. They get to the reveal a little too quick for my taste. I would have enjoyed some more time in the world of Wanted. What about you, Ryan? Could you have gone for another Wanted 2?
Yeah, and there's talk about it. I don't know if Phil can throw that into his research, but there was talk of a Wanted 2, and might still be. I don't know if it just completely died out or what happened. But rewatching this film, I was shocked at the pace of the movie. It just has a really nice energy to it. And I myself had seen the film, I think, twice before watching it last night, but it probably had been 8, maybe 9 years since I last saw it. So I saw it like 2 times very early on when it came out, and that was it. And I really enjoyed it on this viewing. It does seem like it thinks it's the coolest movie in the room, but I can look past that.
It probably is the coolest movie in the room in 2008.
Maybe. It has so many wild ideas, from the weird baths that the characters take to rejuvenate themselves to the yarn that gives them their next target, bending bullets we haven't even got to yet, but it all works just enough, and the action does not disappoint. I was a fan again this time around with Wanted. It's just an easy watch.
It's just an easy watch. And like I said, they don't make them like this anymore. Right in the beginning, we didn't talk about Chris Pratt. Chris Pratt is in this movie, right? And we see his naked ass within, I think, 5 minutes of the film's opening, maybe less, like 2 minutes. And it's I'm going to say fairly graphic
I thought I really thought you were about to rate Chris Pratt's ass right there because you were like, and it's a fairly decent.
It's a 5 out of 10. Chris Pratt's ass notwithstanding, it's fine. But I wasn't shocked. I guess they just don't do that anymore. And I'm no prude. I thought it was kind of refreshing to see that again,
Yeah. I mean, for the record, I thought his ass was a 7. You know what I mean? But I wasn't that shocked. I was shocked by Chris Pratt's small role, thinking back, it's only been 13 years and he was still up and coming. So it's funny. He's really relegated to the friend in the office. I like seeing that. Oh, that was Chris Pratt back then. That was interesting. That
he was
role.
Nobody, right? This is before Guardians of the Galaxy, and he just had not had that breakout yet. I don't think Chris Pratt does a role like this.
Oh, no chance.
No chance. Right? He's a megastar now.
Even James McAvoy. I know you said an unknown, but that is a little incorrect. He had starred in The Last King of Scotland. Atonement was probably before this or right around that same exact time. Can we throw that in the fish tank when Atonement came out? But he was like very in the early stages of becoming, a name, if you will.
This is what I read in my research, that McAvoy was not the first choice of the directors. He was actually not even the second or third. He was way down on the list, but he didn't have the physique. But then they decided ultimately to go with him. He said he was going to buff up for the role, and they went with him because he was geeky. So James McAvoy today tries out for a role like that, and he gets it pretty quick.
Oh, don't get me wrong. His career has skyrocketed since Wanted, but and then we got Angelina Jolie, who we're celebrating this month. This is one of her more action-packed roles, and she's not necessarily the lead, right? She's plays Fox, who's a supporting character, but quite the badass. And she pulled it off surprisingly well. I mean, I think this is the movie that sort of solidified her. I know she had done the Tomb Raiders, but this was like Jolie, the action star.
Right. And Jolie was the linchpin from everything I hear about this movie's development. Getting Jolie, getting her name attached to this is what led to Morgan Freeman and just getting this whole project greenlit and made. So, and she's great in it. She's a little quiet, which was an acting choice on her part. She had just come off of a movie with Clint Eastwood, and she wanted to play that tough, unattainable, aloof kind of character. So it fit. It worked.
So whenever you go back and you watch a movie in your memory banks, you sort of remember a certain scene being way cooler or, not as good and vice versa. And in this case, I remember the Dodge Viper scene in which Angelina Jolie's on like the hood of the car firing back at a guy chasing him being like the coolest scene. Not so anymore. I thought that was just all right. However, on the flip side of that, James McAvoy telling his boss off was 10 times better than I remember it.
Yeah, his acting
wasn't that scene incredible?
So incredible. Just like the scenes of his face when he's trying to hold in the rage, that's not easy to do. James McAvoy's a good actor, man. He's underappreciated in this role, I think.
He gets done telling the boss off. He grabs the keyboard and then he walks up to Chris Pratt and nails him in the face with the keyboard, and the keys that fly off of it spell F-U. Nice
I didn't
touch.
even notice that. I just saw the tooth. There's a tooth that flies out.
The tooth was the U. It was F-U-C-K and then a space Y-O, and the tooth was the U.
Really? Dude, I totally didn't see that. I was so
it's awesome.
Oh, man. See, now there's reasons to go back and watch it again.
Couple other things I wanted to bring up. It is shot in Chicago. We're a Chicago podcast. What did you think of the setting, Matt?
Yeah, no, I love seeing Chicago and trying to figure out, is that the brown line? Is that the blue line? Where the heck are they? I want to find out where that apartment is. Where the sniper, I don't want to ruin anything, but there's somebody sitting in a window. And man, I swear to God, I've gone past that on the red line, They do use the L, which goes around. Here's one falsehood of the movie is they're on the L, and we're talking the top of the train car, and he's supposed to shoot somebody through a window while he's on the top of this train car. The problem is the train is going around the L,
the loop, I should say. And if you've ever been on the L going around the loop, there's a stop like every 2 blocks.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much it would drive around. You'd be able to shoot and the train would just go. That's not the case. The train would actually stop about a block from where he shot the guy, and people would be getting on and off the train, and then it would go another 2 blocks and do the same thing.
Yeah. You know, I didn't even stop to think about it. It works in the context of the movie. It's fine.
There is a twist in the movie. We won't reveal it, but did you like the twist, Matt? You liked it?
It was okay. I mean, it was okay. What'd you think of the twist? It was just okay.
Yeah, it's a little hard to believe from everything that we had saw prior. It's like the movie worked too hard to make us think one thing. I love when they pull it off and it doesn't seem like they tried so hard. This movie really tried hard to make us think one particular train of thought, and then it's like, oh no, we fooled you. Like, okay, well, it's like how much did you fool us when you laid everything out in front of us prior to it showing us one thing? You know?
I don't know if I liked the twist. To be completely honest, I don't know if I did.
Okay, one more gripe with an action sequence is the final train sequence. This one doesn't take place in Chicago. They leave the country, and it sees Angelina Jolie driving a car, which she leaps the car into the train. And, you know, I'd like to see it on one of those shows where they test things out. What are those shows that you like to watch?
Mythbusters or something?
Yeah, Mythbusters. Is it ever possible, I don't care what car you're driving, for a car to leap into a train and actually go inside the train car? I don't think that would happen in a million years. It would knock into the train and probably fall off to the side. It wouldn't bust right into a train car. That was ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't know. That one didn't give me pause.
What do you mean you don't know? Use your head. It wouldn't happen.
Really? I don't know.
No.
I'm not a physicist. I think it could happen.
That said, the ending of that sequence that sees the train car fall down a valley and get stuck between the two sides of a mountain, loved it. And then James McAvoy has to shoot basically the window that he's standing on to get away. That entire sequence right there, I loved.
That was brutal. I mean, that whole train derailment scene, all the people in all those cars, they didn't make it. You know, and I was just like, damn, they just don't care about anybody in their way, huh? Kind of was a bit much. I don't know. The action wise, awesome. Loved it.
For a jaw-dropping moment, I went with the opening assassination. And
that was pretty cool.
It's really our entry into this world of Wanted, because all of a sudden this guy gets into an office hallway and he opens the elevator, and you think he's going to get in the elevator to go down or up or do something.
He's escaping, right?
But he's getting in the elevator so he can get that much more running room, whatever that gives him, maybe 3 feet into the elevator. He gets back and positions himself to like run out of the elevator and down the hallway to get a little bit more momentum.
The flash, yeah.
I loved it. That entire sequence was great.
It was cool. My jaw-dropping moment was Chris Pratt's ass. I mean, I'm serious. I was like, whoa. I mean, there it is. All right.
It was a 7. Movie poster quote, Matt?
Son of a bitch. I forgot the quote on this one. You go first and I'll come up with something.
Okay. For a movie poster quote, I went with "not a straight shooter."
That's really good, Ryan. My movie poster quote is, "I always wanted to see this, and now I have."
How many Jaws on this one, Matt?
I'm going 3 Jaws. I really liked it. It's a fun action movie.
I'm right with you. 3 Jaws.
So how about some pairings, Ryan? If we had to watch another movie after this, what would you pair it with? So
I was a little torn on this one, but it did make me want to watch this particular movie. And I thought, well, that's what I should put as the movie pairing. But I just felt it was a little weak, but it did make me want to revisit Salt with Angelina Jolie, because she's pretty cool in Wanted, maybe way cooler than even in Salt, but Salt being another Angelina Jolie action film made me want to see it.
Well, I mean, I'm kind of in the same vein. I went Tomb Raider or The Matrix. This is very much like, let's see how deep this rabbit hole goes kind of thing, you know?
very seldom does a sentence like that make sense. Tomb Raider or The Matrix?
Yeah, right, exactly. But here we are. Wanted evokes both of those movies.
Good stuff. Hey, and Matt, with these retro reviews, Phil always does a little bit of internet research for us to find out some facts looking back at Wanted.
Yeah, there is some good stuff. All right, we'll get the numbers out of the way first. Get the least sexy stuff out. Just get it done with. This film was released June 27th, 2008. It opened as the number 2 in the box office. It was behind Wall-E. Wall-E made $62 million. Wanted made $52, so a $10,000 difference. But that's not. It's not a good, not a bad second place, considering that the number 3 was Get Smart with $20 million.
Sure.
And I don't know if anybody even remembers Get Smart.
Ooh.
Steve Carell is Maxwell Smart.
And Anne Hathaway? Come on.
It was budgeted for $75 million, and it grossed $341. So
it
well
makes you
over 3
wonder.
times.
Yeah, it makes you wonder why they didn't do a Wanted 2, right?
We'll
big,
get there.
Yeah, okay. Big box office for sure.
Well, you know what? Why don't we start there? Actually, I can rearrange these on the fly. They have been trying to. There's it's been kind of in development hell, and technically, it is currently like in production, or I guess installed production. As soon as it made the money, the first Wanted made the money that it had, they did try to make one. However, when they reached out to Angelina, she I assume politely declined, which put the writers and
her character doesn't make sense.
Yeah, they put her. That put the writers and the producers in a position of not knowing where to go exactly. They were trying to pull and be authentic to the source material, the original graphic novels, but still make it make sense without Angelina Jolie. And they didn't want to recast her, which seems. I mean, I get it, but at the same time, I don't. But anyways, they eventually have just kind of like dragged their heels with it, not knowing what to do. It seems like it would have been very cool. I've never read the graphic novels, but I guess there's 5 total different fraternities and assassin organizations.
Oh,
and,
that's interesting.
yeah, they were gonna like really flesh out that world,
Right.
Like a John Wick sort of universe.
Interesting.
Yeah,
exactly.
I would have totally been game for that.
And to be clear, it still could happen. It still could happen. Just anytime soon, probably not likely. I do got to say, my next fact, I'm a little mad because Matt also did the same crack research as me. I had written down
Did you say crap research?
You know what? You can interpret my language however you want to, because I certainly won't say one way or the other.
I meant mine, not yours, by the way, Phil.
Well, it's all under the CJ umbrella, if you know what I mean. But it was that James McAvoy was too nerdy for the role initially, which is surprising because I feel like they kind of play into that for this movie, like especially at the beginning. Like if he started out,
it's
like
a geek to chic role.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that the original character might not have been supposed to be as geeky, but then when they decided to go that route,
Okay, there's like
it made sense.
play it up. This is cool. While on location in Chicago, the Dark Knight was also a neighboring film in production, so they're trying to cram as much into these streets and L trains as they can.
What a year.
And Morgan Freeman worked while shooting this film, obviously.
He was in both.
Right.
Yes. And on one occasion, Mark Miller, the creator of the Wanted series, snuck onto the neighboring set to see the Bat Pod, which was used for filming, and he was evicted from the set when security and producer Lawrence Sean Donner caught him sneaking onto the Batman set.
That's awesome. I would do the same thing.
Yeah, me too.
I think it's I just love to imagine that like right, I can see him wearing some kind of set gear and just easily like showcasing his like badge really quickly and trying to sneak on like Ocean's 11. It's a shame that he got kicked out.
Yeah, it makes for a good story.
Here's another really good story. I'm a little disappointed that I couldn't find more on this one, actually. For the action scene where Angelina's on top of that car, she was in real life strapped onto the hood of a moving Dodge Viper. I could not find out how fast she was going, but I love the fact that something that Angelina Jolie and I have in common is that when we were younger, probably in 2008, we were both hood surfing. I think that there's something really special about that.
But you weren't shooting a shotgun also, Phil. Like Angelina.
I was not. I was also not on a Dodge Viper. It was on a shitty minivan.
And you were also not strapped on.
Yeah, that's a good point, too. I could have died. Mine was stupid. This is not a plug. Do not say because Cinemajaw has hood surfed, you should do it. It's a good disclaimer to pull out, man.
Always a good disclaimer.
Here's another interesting. So they built their own train cars for this, for the train, more or less train hood surfing scenes. They built two different cars. One was for the L trains, the Chicago ones that we're all familiar with. And then the other one was for the Czech Pendolino system. And there was a derailment of that. I know Ryan mentioned that they had gone out of country. And what was cool about the Czech one, there was it was gimbal equipped, which is, I found this out doing the research as well. Apparently just like some kind of hinge. I'm not smart enough in design and engineering to tell you exactly what it is, but there is a bunch of good diagrams that I hope are more helpful than I can be. But so yeah, it had this hinge with hydraulics that would allow it to tilt and roll and crash practically instead of being like
CG.
done. Yeah,
That's cool.
very cool.
Really neat. Was that all of it?
That's all we got.
Good
stuff.
research, Phil.
Yeah, love it. Jawheads, if you have seen Wanted and you want to comment on this review, shoot us a tweet at Cinemajaw or email us feedback@cinemajaw.com. We are going to take a quick break. When we come back, we are going to find out if Army of the Dead is Matt Kay's movie of the year. Plus, Matt is taking Phil on in Blunt movie trivia. Stick with us.
Jawheads, I want you to do me a favor. Pull your phone out of your pocket and go to your YouTube app. Search for the Cinemajaw channel and hit subscribe. Really, please do it right now. This will do two things. One, it helps us reach more people. We want to spread the good word about film, and you clicking subscribe really helps us do that. And two, it costs you nothing. That's right. Subscribing to Cinemajaw on YouTube is fun and it's free. Think of it as a donation that doesn't even cost you anything. Even if you just listen to the podcast and never really watch the videos, you subscribing on YouTube helps us make the podcast better too. But please check out a few videos while you're there. We think they're pretty good. So right now, while you're listening, before you forget, take your phone out. It shouldn't even interrupt the show. And go to YouTube, search Cinemajaw, and hit subscribe. And thank you so much.
And we are back on Cinemajaw. Matt, usually this is the point where I ask a question to the guest.
Yes, that's true, Ryan.
But since we don't have a guest, I got to ask a question to you.
Oh, well, I guess I'll do in a pinch. What's your question?
Let's go off the cuff here, Matt. What are you looking forward to most this summer?
Like not necessarily film, just in general?
Not film. In fact, not film at all. Something different. What are you looking forward to most this summer?
I'm going to Wisconsin Dells. I'm going to go camping. We're renting a cabin. So it's not full on tent camping, but cabin camping counts. And we're going to hit a water park, and I think it'll just be kind of feels normal, So I'm looking forward to that.
That's exciting, Matt K.
It is. 2 families. It's not just me and a family that we're friends with. So my whole family, their whole family. It's going to be a lot of fun.
That's great. And again, for the JawHeads at home that want to follow you online, Matt, where should we send them?
Send them to cinemajaw.com and I also at Cinemajaw on Twitter and Instagram.
Everywhere. I believe TikTok even has Cinemajaw.
That is true. That's a true story. We've yet to do a TikTok, right? Maybe that's something to branch out into in 2021.
But we did grab the handle, did we not? You were thinking, Matt K.
I always think ahead. Got to pay attention to what the kids are up to.
I love it. All right, Matt, before we get to trivia and before we get to Army of the Dead, we did throw a few items into the fish tank. Let's open her up.
Wait a moment! It's fish! Isn't it?
Fishy! Wake up! Wake up! No, Pat, it's a giant glass bowl. Hey, get some fish folk.
Who's coming with me besides Flipper? Here.
That's a Sicilian message. It means Luca Brasi sleeps with the fishes.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Hello, it's so good to be out. I did want to ask a quick question before I get my facts out to you guys. It's very important, at least to me. In Cruella, did they play, this seems like a no-brainer, did they play Bad Reputation by Joan Jett? If they didn't, I'm going to be disappointed.
I can't say for sure.
I don't think so. I don't know. There's so many songs in there. There's got to be 35 songs in there, 40 maybe.
Sometimes like 2 or 3 in one scene.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of music. I can't remember for sure if Joan Jett was there or not.
Who sings the song These Boots Were Made for Walking? Who is that?
Patsy Cline.
Yes, Patsy Cline. I love that particular scene when they play that song. That's in there for sure. That's a good one.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So speaking of fat boots and fashion, what our first question in here? What did Daniel Day-Lewis do after Phantom Thread? Did he retire? And I am so happy to report. I mean, I guess maybe not happy. I'm glad that Daniel Day-Lewis is probably the first actor or actress in history who did not lie when they said they were retiring. The man has actually retired.
Wow.
While he's a very talented actor and we miss him, it's nice. It's refreshing to have some truth in this. His last film was 2017's Phantom Thread. When he announced his retirement, Paul Thomas Anderson, frequent collaborator of Daniel's, says, "I would like to hope that he just needs a break, but I don't know. It sure seems like it right now, which is a drag for all of us." It referring to that he would be retiring.
Yeah, I like to see. I mean, he's so talented. I'd like to see what else he can pull off. What other characters he can give us.
He'll be back.
I gotta say, it's not too late.
Yeah.
Slayer's had like 18 farewell tours. It's not too late.
Yeah.
Who directed the Crazies remake, and when did the remake come out? So the original Romero film was in 1973, and 4 decades later, in 2010, the remake came out from director Breck Eisner. Eisner, who we may remember from 2015's The Last Witch Hunter.
Oh, boy.
Apparently terrible.
Well, I like the Crazies remake. I can't speak for The Last Witch Hunter with, I believe, Vin Diesel or...
Yes. Yeah. Vin Diesel. It is 17% fresh. Ryan, I'm amazed that you even heard of it, because I think you're probably one of the 6 people who knows what it is. I don't even know if Vin Diesel remembers. He did also make 2005's Sahara with Steve Zahn.
Oh, that was a crapper also. Matthew McConaughey also.
Unfortunately, Breck may not have the best best track record. And then our last fact that we threw in here was, when did Atonement come out? That was July 2007. And then Wanted came out in June of 2008. So a few short months, half a year for everyone to germinate on James McAvoy and Atonement before Wanted came out.
That's what I recall, because I know I saw Wanted in the theater and I already knew who James McAvoy was. Not that he was like a super household name, but I already was aware of his name and knew who he was and like, oh, this guy's starting to become something. So yeah, he was on his way up already.
Maybe I should have said a relative unknown, especially
maybe
compared
that would have worked
to his career today. Yeah.
And I think if having, two come out really close to each other like that sometimes boosts your star up.
Sure. Was that everything in there, Phil?
That was all the facts we threw in there, but I did, there's some pretty big news. I did want to get to a Hollywood headline this week.
Oh, do tell.
What the heck,
This
Phil?
is what I am referring to as the first nuke of the streaming wars. Amazon has bought MGM for their Prime streaming service.
I saw this. Matt, your thoughts on it first.
This is huge. I mean, it's a tectonal... Is that a word? Tectonic shift? That's a word. Yeah, it cannot be understated. Like, you think about MGM, the lion roaring. How many times have we seen that in front of so many amazing movies throughout since the beginning of the golden age of Hollywood, And now that's going to be Amazon. Listen, when Whole Foods got bought by Amazon, I was a little bit bummed, right? But to see MGM get bought out, I don't know. I don't like it. I was okay with Disney buying Marvel, but Amazon buying MGM feels greasy.
Icky. Yeah, I was going to go icky. You said greasy. The positives being this. I love access to movies and old movies. The idea that Amazon now would be able to stream a lot of the vault of MGM movies, and this is really why they're buying the movies, is to have these rights to all these old films, something like 4,000 movies. That's exciting to me. There's no doubt. Like, wow, I can just go to Amazon Prime and watch it. But I'm right with you, Matt. It feels icky because as a movie person, I want to see diversity. I want to see different heads of studios take different gambles. I mean, if it just starts to all fold under 1, 2, 3 super conglomerates, it's bad for business, and it's bad for free thinking, I think. So I'm all for more studios. I dislike it. And how long until we have a James Bond origin series on Amazon Prime and they branch all of that out? I mean,
bite your tongue. They're listening, dude. I mean, it's going to be a lot less time now since you said it on a podcast.
Everything that MGM has, they have Rocky, they have all kinds of iconic characters. You can just see the offshoots of, 10-part miniseries and limited series. And
we're all going to eat it up with a spoon. We're going to be like, please, sir, may I have some more? I mean,
so ultimately I fall on the decision bad. I dislike it. You?
Man, yeah, I think it's bad, but it's also inevitable, and we're complaining about stuff that's already happened because the studio system is not new. It's just that there are new studios now. They're buying out the old ones. Now the studios are Netflix, Amazon, Disney, and Apple instead of like Paramount, MGM, and all the others that existed in the golden age. It's the same game, just different names. So
yeah. We shall see what happens. We'll be reporting on it here on Cinemajaw, though.
Yes, we will.
Hopefully this incentivizes Amazon to step up because their player sucks.
I agree.
I've never had a pleasant Amazon Prime viewing experience in my life.
Interesting you say that, because I had a choice when I went to rent Wanted, because unfortunately it's not streaming for free on any of the platforms that I could find, unless you get one of the like library apps, which I don't have. So I had to rent it, and I'm like, I'm just going to go with YouTube because their player is the best by far. So I rented it on YouTube.
Agreed.
Interesting. I don't, you guys call it the player. I'll just go as far as to say the app. I never have liked the Amazon app because it doesn't just show you what's on Prime. I hate that. They're also showing you movies that you can rent, like pay extra for. Just show me what I get in my package of Prime. That's what I want,
Yeah, it's a pain in the ass.
It is. All right. Was that everything, Phil?
That's all we got in here today.
Jump back in there.
Will do.
All right, Ryan, everybody knows that I am a huge fan of zombies, so tuck in. We're going to be talking about Army of the Dead, Rye. Since the Snyder Cut was released to general acclaim, we were all the more excited to see what the redeemed director would do next. When the announcement of Army of the Dead came down, I was initially thrilled. After all, Snyder rose to fame on his arguably superior remake of Romero's Dawn of the Dead. Dave Bautista from Guardians of the Galaxy starring in a zombie action comedy heist? Sign me up. But does this Of the Dead entry line up to its roots, or would this horror just be horrific? I snuck into Las Vegas to find out.
They're not what you think they are. They're smarter. They're faster. They're organized.
That you can hope for is to die.
Oh, scheiße.
You got to hold, know when to fold, know when to walk away, and know when to run. You never count your money. When you're sitting at the table, there'll be time enough to count. When the deal's done. What is this?
It's a goddamn zombie tiger. That's crossing the line.
Army of the Dead opens with a military convoy hauling something from Area 51, crashing into a civilian car and releasing their cargo. Wouldn't you know it, it's a super zombie who infects the soldiers, and then the newly minted zombie horde descends on Las Vegas. After an awesome zombie attack montage over the tune Viva Las Vegas, we see the aftermath. Vegas is quarantined and the zombie outbreak is largely contained. That's when we meet Scott Ward, played by Dave Bautista. Having rescued the Secretary of Defense from Vegas, earned him a Medal of Honor, but didn't improve his station in life. He flips burgers at a greasy spoon and is estranged from his family, what's left of it. Ward is tasked by a casino owner to put together a team, sneak back into Vegas, and recover the $200 million in cash from the casino vault. Cue, we are putting the band back together montage. Army of the Dead Rye is short on three things: an army, the dead, and some sort of redeeming quality. I love me a good zombie movie. Heck, I even love me a bad zombie movie. But Army of the Dead is simply meh. Totally absent is any sort of social commentary, which Romero had in spades, and Snyder wisely updated in his remake of Dawn. What's more, the plot is just plain stupid. This movie is so chock full of eye-rolling, inducing moments that I worried I would go blind from repetitive stress. Why couldn't the container be crash-proof? Why wouldn't the army cars have collision warning? My Toyota Corolla has collision warning. Why does a relationship change from combat buddies to romantic with no warning just before a character dies? Why are the tigers the only animals in Vegas to also be zombies? Where are all the rats and the dogs and the birds and so on? This movie is stupidly written. Sure, there are some fun moments, but not enough of them. And last, let's talk special effects. Even in a terrible zombie pick, you get some fun gore and horrific kills, right? Well, not in Army of the Dead. The violence and gore is ramped way down to meet the general Netflix audience. The gore on display makes an episode of The Walking Dead look like Dead Alive. Bad CG abounds, and the digital blood will never quench the thirst of a true genre fan. The only special effect that's being talked about as poor is Tig Navarro's digital insertion into the film after the fact, which actually didn't bother me at all. I thought the crew did a great job, as did Navarro, given the set of circumstances. Overall, big disappointment for me, Ryan. What did you think?
Yeah, on paper, a heist movie in Vegas during a zombie apocalypse, that sounds amazing. This film, Matt, should have been way better. The best part was the setup. You mentioned it, seeing how the zombie started and that opening credit montage. Great stuff. A+. Can't take that away from it. Even up to the point of explaining the heist and how they were going to go into Vegas, I was on board. But as soon as the team comes together, as you called it, Matt, Q, getting the band back together, and the actual heist itself, downhill in a hurry. Headshots on zombies are not great enough to warrant 35, 40 of them in a single movie. It gets boring after a while. And you're right, the effects didn't even look that good. Big complaint here. Dave Bautista, not charismatic enough to play the lead. I like the guy. He's great in Guardians of the Galaxy, but he cannot pull off the lead character in a movie like this. He just doesn't have the charisma.
I don't know if I totally agree with you there. That was the least of the concerns of this movie. It wasn't Bautista's fault.
Not everything, but it could have used a more charismatic lead is what I'm saying there. I mean, I'm shocked it failed as miserably as it could have or did, because on paper, the premise sounds fantastic. And if you like Dave Bautista, then what else went wrong here? You know what I mean?
Right. And what a wasted opportunity, because Zack Snyder, like I said, he's coming fresh off the Snyder Cut love. All the fanboys are kind of in his corner, and he's got this pedigree, having remade Dawn, to take the reins from Romero and be our zombie king, right? He could have been that guy. And then he gives us this piece of shit. And I'm sorry, man, all bets are off on it, but I'm not in for another Snyder of the Dead movie after this. It upset me that much.
But what if they make a Snyder cut of Army of the Dead? Are you in?
If such a film exists, you bet your ass I'm in. But I mean, this has no business even being called an Of the Dead movie at all. It's not.
You were really disappointed that there wasn't enough gore.
No, this is a zombie movie, for God's sake. I mean, the gore is terrible. There's one scene, I almost don't care if I spoil anything, but I'm not going to spoil it. But I'll just say that somebody gets their head twisted around, right? It looked like it was at a Sharknado. That's the level of effort.
Oh, come on.
I'm not joking.
Matt.
I am not joking. Like we see like a spinal cord.
I love Sharknado.
I love Sharknado too, but Sharknado is like purposefully bad. This is not. It was trying to be good and wound up looking terrible. That effect was awful. Could have been a show-stopping moment. And you see what I'm saying? Like, that relationship turned on a dime. You know, like there was no buildup to all of a sudden this scene where we find out these two characters are actually like kind of love interests. No friction ahead of time, nothing building up toward this. We get a love interest all of a sudden, and then boom, a character dies. And it's like, man, that was cheap. And it was lazy.
I didn't really like any of the team members. I'm talking about the actors that portrayed them. I thought none of it worked. I just was like, oh, this is a watered down version of this person, or, you know, who, I don't know. Nobody stood out to me and said, wow, that's great. Even the helicopter pilot, who is played by a somewhat
Tig Navarro. Yeah.
Tig Navarro, even played by her, who comes on, you know, it's supposed to be funny. I thought it just could have been better on all of them. And that was probably the standout performance, but even that I thought could have been better.
Well, you know that she was not in the movie. They did all the principal photography wrapped. They were editing the movie. And then the actor that played the helicopter pilot, it came out that he had some transgressions, let's say. Everybody can go Google it and find out. But he had some... anyway, he was removed from the film. Did you even know that?
I had no idea.
So if you watch
clue.
it...
This is the first time even hearing of it.
If you think about it, it makes sense. When you see Navarro's character, they shoot her like there's a fence between them, and she's often never in the same scenes as other actors. And a lot of people are saying it's really uncanny valley territory, but you didn't even notice. So
I had no idea.
Yeah, I did. I barely noticed, and I found out after the fact. I'm like, wonder why they're shooting through a fence right here. It did look a little weird in some spots, but you know, you suspend disbelief and just kind of go with it.
Well, go ahead, Phil.
Isn't her name Tig Notaro with a T?
Yeah, it is, Phil. I'm sorry. Yeah, Tig Notaro. You're correct.
So my point being that I didn't like any of the team members, her being the highlight, but
I agree.
It still could have been better on all levels. You got a jaw-dropping moment for us, Matt?
My jaw-dropping moment was the zombie baby. And not because it was cool and I'm like, whoa, my jaw hit the floor. Because it was so stupid. I was like, what? What the hell? And don't get me wrong, I am all for zombie
babies.
Baby. Yeah.
You want zombie babies and Chris Pratt's ass in one movie and you're happy.
Oh, dude, that's like heaven.
I went with, I thought the best scene in the entire movie was the zombie tiger. I love the zombie tiger. I was in for that. And in fact, I want to see the zombie tiger take on the bear from The Revenant. I want to see those two pit against each other to see who can maul who the best.
Or how about the bear from Annihilation, the nightmare bear?
Throw them in there. Let's get a battle royal going. That would be fun.
Here's the problem with zombifying animals is why is it only this one tiger? That's my point. Like, there's all kinds of animals.
I know. I don't know what happened if we changed spots here, Matt, but I want to say to you, have fun with it, Matt. Can't you have a little fun with it? It's a zombie tiger. It's a zombie movie. Don't overthink it.
There was that tiger at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic who caught COVID, but your house dog is fine, Matt. Science is on our side.
Yeah. There you go.
Maybe it was a nod to the COVID pandemic. Fine, Ryan. I'll have a little fun with it.
Movie poster quote.
My movie poster quote is, "Don't bother."
That's terrible.
Well,
I went with zombie tiger for the win. Come see the amazing zombie tiger. It is amazing.
You thought Tiger King was scary. Check out Army of the Dead.
All right. How about how many jaws for this first? How many jaws, Matt?
1.5 jaws, 1.5.
Wow. I was at 2 jaws, believe it or not. I didn't hate it as much as you, but it's a disappointing 2. There's sometimes where 2's like, wow, I'm happy with the 2. This is one of those where I really thought this was 3 to 4 jaw territory. I was pumped to see it. And so giving it 2 jaws, I was very disappointed.
It's not a zombie movie, and it's not a heist movie, and it's not an action movie, and it's not a comedy. It's lost in this mix of genres, and none of them work. And when you put the "of the dead," suffix onto a title, that means something, or at least it damn well should, especially if you're Zack Snyder. This is a total miss. 1.5 jaws. You're giving it way too much.
2 jaws for Rye the Movie Guy. My movie pairing with this one, I really was thinking Vegas and thinking heist. So I went with 3,000 Miles to Graceland. I don't know if you've ever seen this one, Matt. It came out in 2001. It stars Kurt Russell and Kevin Costner. And the premise is that it's Elvis week in Las Vegas, and they play Elvis impersonators.
I think I have seen it. Yeah, it's been a long time.
And 5 Elvis impersonators decide to pull off a humongous heist in Vegas, trying to steal like $12 million. Rounding out the cast in here is also Christian Slater, Courtney Cox, and David Arquette. Really, really good movie. Check it out. 3,000 Miles to Graceland. One I want to watch again.
Wow, you're even reviewing your movie pairings. It truly is Review-O-Rama. I'm going with Day of the Dead as my movie pairing from George Romero, the true sequel to Dawn of the Dead. It kind of has that military feel. They're trapped in a bunker. There's a lot of soldiers with them. So if you need to scratch that itch, this is a much better choice than Army of the Dead.
Wow. Matt is down on Army of the Dead.
Can we get a good zombie movie? It's been so long. I've been disappointed. That Bill Murray one was disappointing. I'm not a big fan of Zombieland. Let's get a good zombie movie again.
All right. Well, we can't go out on a sour note like that, Matt Kay. So let's go out on a high note like we always do and play some movie trivia. In honor of Emily Blunt starring in A Quiet Place 2, Matt is taking Phil on in Blunt movie trivia. Phil, you know the rules. You want to go first? You want to let Matt go first? What do you want to do here?
I got to be honest, other than like Pineapple Express, I I can't think of anything, so I'm going first. I'm taking the easier ones for sure.
All right. Here we go. Question 1 over to Phil. Blunt movie trivia. You each have a rescue. Phil, in Edge of Tomorrow, Emily Blunt co-stars with this A-list movie star.
Tom Cruise.
That is correct. 1-0, Phil. Question 2 over to Matt K. Matt, in 2018, Emily Blunt starred in this Disney movie in which she played a character last played by Julie Andrews.
That would be Mary Poppins, who is actually a superhero, Ryan.
We need a full title of the movie. In 2018, Emily Blunt starred in this Disney movie in which she played a character last played by Julie Andrews.
Oh, I see. The Return of Mary Poppins. Mary Poppins Returns.
We'll give it to you. Mary Poppins Returns. There it is. 1-1. Question 3 over to Phil. Cale Penn and John Cho lit up a blunt and tried to get some burgers in this 2004 stoner movie.
Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle.
Absolutely correct. 2-1, Phil.
It's a good thing you added that Go to White Castle, because I was going to say we need the full name of the movie, Phil.
And there's, I think, 3 or 4 of them.
They saved Christmas at one point, didn't they?
Question 4 over to Matt K. Matt, Ice Cube shares a blunt with his friend Smokey in the film Friday. Who played Smokey in the film?
Chris Tucker.
That is correct.
And you know this, man.
Matt, our interests are like re-questioning. We're never good at movie trivia, but the blunt week, we're fine.
That really says something about us, Phil. Not sure what.
2-2. Everybody perfect on blunt movie trivia. Question 5 to Phil. Emily Blunt has made one movie with Jack Black. It came out in 2010. Name it.
Emily Blunt and Jack Black, huh? 2010 Jack Black. All right. I would have been a junior in high school. This is 5.
Emily Blunt, yes.
I'm going to go on a limb and I'm going to use my rescue on this one.
Wow. Rescue me, Ryan. Your clue, Phil, is this movie travels.
Oh, I saw this in literature. This was Gulliver's Travels.
Yes, that is correct.
That was totally going to be my guess too, Phil.
We read this. This was another one that I saw on a field trip.
The Lilliputians.
3-2, Phil. Question 6 to Matt K. Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman shared a blunt before they went to bed in this 1999 film.
It wasn't a blunt. It was a joint. There's a difference.
I got to say blunts because we're doing blunt movie trivia. All right? Jesus.
Eyes wide shut.
Man, I mean, the guy, you're going to haggle me on this? Come on. 3-3, everybody's perfect. Question 7 over to Phil. Emily Blunt made the film Looper with Bruce Willis and Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Who directed the movie?
Who directed the
Looper? Who directed Looper?
Kind of plays like a Nolan, where they're going backwards in time, if I remember correctly. Oh boy.
Who directed the Looper?
Man,
I used his rescue.
That's probably for the best, because I don't know if I would have been able to get this one with a rescue, though. Let's say Rian Johnson.
That is correct.
Oh my God, yes!
Wow. Was that really a left field guess, Phil?
That honest to God was.
Wow.
It seemed like it was. I was struggling to find someone who would have a similar style to that.
4-3, Phil. Last question of the game is over to Matt K. Matt, Emily Blunt has made one movie with Josh Brolin. Name it.
Rescue me, Ryan.
Wow. Your clue is Benicio del Toro is also in the film.
Sicario.
Yes, he nailed it. Son of a gun. Everybody goes perfect. 4 for 4 on blunt movie trivia, each of them. Wow. Congratulations, fella. Comes down to a jawbreaker. Matt, should they make a sequel to Edge of Tomorrow?
Yes.
That is correct. That is correct. The real jawbreaker is this. Age of Looper star Bruce Willis, closest to. Matt, how old is Bruce Willis?
Wow. Bruce Willis is 66 years old.
Lock him in at 66. Phil, you got a guess?
I'm going 72. I think he's way older than Matt thinks he is.
He might be.
We go with Matt K. He is 66 years old.
That man does not age well.
He is starting to finally age. He didn't age for years, but now he's aging.
He's looked like he's been retiring for years.
Wow. Virtual handshake here. Matt wins it on a tiebreaker.
That was
Congratulations, Matt.
Good one, guys. Very fun.
That was good.
Brings us to the end of a very fun and entertaining Jaw. First and foremost, we got to thank our editor, our producer, Phil Phil.
Oh, it's always a pleasure. Wouldn't be anywhere else.
Matt, we should also thank the sponsors.
Yes, thanks to Overcast and the Chicago Podcast Co-op who help us get them as a sponsor.
We also want to thank the JawHeads, especially our Patreons.
Yeah, join us on Patreon, everybody. We're doing another cool review series. This time, 80s action movies, not the ones that everybody else has talked about a million times. We're trying to dig a little deeper.
Another way to support the show is by leaving us a review wherever you're listening to this podcast.
And while you're at it, please click subscribe. One extra click helps us out a lot.
Until next week, I'm Ryan the Movie Guy.
I'm Matt K.
And keep on jawing about the movies.